councils and guidance should consult locals before implementing the controversial low traffic neighbourhood schemes. This is according to new government guidance. The Department of Transport guidance, which is due to come out it's actually due to come into effect this summer, recommends that councils should make sure that they're confident of the support of the community before they introduce an LTN. Meanwhile, Labour has accused ministers of trying to dictate to local communities how they should use their streets. Well, let's welcome to the show Clair Battaglino, who's a founding member of the Social and Environmental Justice, the Anti-LTN Lobbying Group. Clair, thanks for giving us your time.
Hi there.
Clair, what's your experience been from the low traffic neighbourhood schemes?
Okay, well, about over three years ago, I woke up one morning and I just looked out the window and thought, oh my God, there must have been an accident. And quite often, if there's an accident, you feel, is there anything I can do? And then it just carried on and it carried on and it carried on. And 3 days later, we couldn't find any roadworks and walked through the area close to one of the parks near here, the London Fields Park, and we noticed these big planters. Now, when the council put out their green strategy or, any improvement, I didn't think twice about it. I'm a community gardener, a former award-winning school and community gardener. I grow my own vegetables. I cook naturally. I don't eat processed food, blah, blah. I didn't think I had anything to worry about. But unfortunately, I live in social housing on what I call a sacrificial road. So all of a sudden, all these cars and vans and, just unbelievable. I noticed for the first time in my life, this is a true story, that Ocado vans came in different colors. I've never seen an Ocado van on my less affluent road. All of a sudden, there were all these Ocado vans, and I thought, where are they going? Then I noticed they're turning into the LTN. And I'm not exactly a boundary road. So, they started saying, things are improving on the boundary roads as well. Well, I'm not a boundary road. I'm a few roads away. And started looking at the boundary roads that Hackney was saying had shown improvements and realized that most of those had a positive impact because they were closed at one end or they were coming out of the LTN or, whatever. So it all looked a bit worrying to me. I have some sort of background in research techniques and things like that. So I started looking at what they were putting out and, to me, it just seemed there was something wrong. And this all happened during COVID. And we were told it was to improve, walking and cycling. Now, I'm somebody who doesn't have a car. I walk locally. I actually have that 15-minute city life, especially since I've retired. And I also cycle. My partner was a member of the LCC at that point in time. And it was just like, hold on, what's going on here? And when we started looking into it, we realized it was an agenda by, sort of formulated and, instituted almost by a certain sector of Hackney's community to benefit that certain sector of Hackney's community.
So, Clair, at no point were you consulted when the LTN was put in your neighbourhood?
Okay, so after the fact, then they put out this consultation. So, of course, me, that sort of person, I go online and I start to fill it out. I actually had to stop because there was no way for somebody like me to actually fill out the consultation because if all the questions were basically skewed, you had to be a car-loving, pollution-gulping, anti-vaxxer or whatever, to actually say, no, I think this is unfair. There was a place where you could comment. But I wrote immediately to the people who organized the survey and said, look, I have, some degree of experience in survey research techniques. I studied it at university, blah, blah, blah. You need to rephrase these questions. And what they said to me is that it's not our responsibility. It's the council who actually phrased the questions. So I went back to it and I thought, okay, grit your teeth and fill it out. So I told them exactly why I didn't like the LTM because it does nothing to decrease traffic. It does nothing to help the people who are already living with higher levels of pollution. It takes cars that come from, an area of high car ownership, which is the London Fields LTN, because the census has proven me right on this. And it takes their traffic and their van-dependent lifestyle and puts all the traffic on the main roads, or what they call main roads, for longer.
As it happens, I've had completely the opposite experience, I think, Claire, to the one you've had. There was a consultation where I lived. A lot of people objected and the LTN didn't go ahead. Now, that's because, where we are, there's only a couple of crossings over railway lines, and they were proposing of actually cutting one of the railway crossings. And in fact, I think it was the emergency services who really won the case, because they said, look, if you close that, that's going to seriously hamper us getting to emergency call-outs in time. Now, emergency services, we should remind people, are always consulted at LTNs. However, Claire, I wonder what you make of the government's own report that was seen by the Guardian newspaper, that actually said, the study seems to dispel the argument that LTNs are deeply unpopular. Surveys of 1,800 plus residents in 4 sample schemes in London, Birmingham, Wigan and York found the average of 45 support, only 21% opposition. These are the Guardian, the government's own. This is from the Department of Transport. Also available evidence from the UK indicates that LTNs are effective in achieving outcomes of reducing traffic volumes within their zones, while adverse impact on boundary roads appear to be limited. It seems that the government's own research from the Department of Transport is saying that they're actually sort of doing the job that they're meant to do, and that people living within them or next to them seem to be okay with them.
Well, that's not the case. And in fact, the consultation, after they were in place in Hackney, every consultation, I think, except maybe one, was sort of went against it, firmly against it. And I'm telling you, it brought tears to my eyes to read what so many of the people inside the London LTM were saying. They were saying, we don't want the traffic shifted on the poorer people on Graham Road or the poorer people on Dalston Lane or whatever. So that wasn't the case in Hackney. All the consultations went against the LTNs. Now, we've got to also start looking at who fills out the consultation. So one of the things as a former primary and nursery school teacher I did was I went across the street to the primary school and started talking to parents and just trying to get an idea. Now, the school across this on this road is one of the most deprived in the borough. And I found out of 200 parents I spoke to, one person had actually filled out the consultation. Their school playground, the nursery school playground, is actually 2 meters from idling traffic now, where it never was idling before. So we've got to look at who fills out those consultations. And that's already a self-selecting group. And that's what we've seen over and over again. The people who...
Claire, I only have to bring it to a close only because of time constraints, but you've made your points and thank you for doing so. It's a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you for joining us. Clair Battaglino there, founding member of the Social and Environmental Justice, which is an anti-LTN lobbying group. And coming up in just a moment, slot machines.